Hello, everyone. Here we are. We're going to pick up where we left off with Isaiah chapter 3. And you remember that Isaiah is a principal prophet, a primary one. And he is pretty much confronting Judah and Jerusalem for forsaking the Lord. So let's go. See now remember, when Isaiah is speaking, he's under the command and the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. So this is God talking to the Israelites, whether they be in Judah, where King David ruled, which was the remnant left to him, or left to Solomon after there was a split in Israel, or whether he's talking to the rest of Israel. He's talking to all of them, okay? So here we go. See now, the Lord Almighty is about to take from Jerusalem and Judah both supply and support. You know, that almost sounds like what we're going through now here in America. All supplies of food and all supplies of water, the hero and the warrior, the judge and the prophet, the diviner and the elder, the captain of 50 and the man of rank, the counselor, skilled craftsman, and clever enchanter. Okay, now I don't know to what degree, when I read that first line about to take both supply and support, that immediately made me think of America, okay? But this is a very strong pronouncement, and I am not prophesying, okay? I will make mere youths their officials. Children will rule over them. People will oppress each other, man against man, neighbor against neighbor. The young will rise up against the old, and nobody against the young will rise up against the old, the nobody against the honored. We're definitely seeing that. We're definitely seeing children committing terrible crimes lately. A man will seize one of his brothers in his father's house and say, "You have a cloak, you be our leader. Take charge of this heap of ruins." But in that day he will cry out, "I have no remedy. I have no food or clothing in my house. Don't make me the leader of the people." Scary stuff. Jerusalem staggers, Judah is falling. Their words and deeds are against the Lord, defying his glorious presence. The look on their faces testifies against them. They parade their sin like Sodom. They don't hide it. Woe to them. They've brought disaster upon themselves. Tell the righteous it will be well with them, for they will enjoy the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked. Disaster is upon them. They will be paid back for what their hands have done. Youths oppress my people. That's youths as in young people. Will oppress my people. Women rule over them. My people, your guides lead you astray. They turn you from the path. Now, I want to make a mention. It says here, women rule over them, as if that's a curse. And we were talking a few chapters back in Ecclesiastes about how Solomon couldn't find one righteous woman amongst 1,000, okay? And we had gone on to say that a woman, or my opinion was, a woman benefits from a good man. So when it says women rule over them, I take that to mean that there's no covering for that woman. You've just got a woman ruling, but there's no helper for her, okay? So that could come across as weakness, absolutely, okay? Women rule over them. My people, your guides lead you astray. They turn you from the path. The Lord takes his place in court. He rises to judge the people. The Lord enters into judgment against the elders and leaders of his people. It's you who have ruined my vineyard. The plunder from the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor? Declares the Lord Almighty. The Lord says, the women of Zion are haughty, walking along with outstretched necks, flirting with their eyes, strutting along with swaying hips, with ornaments jingling on their ankles. Therefore, the Lord will bring sores on the heads of the women of Zion. The Lord will make their scalps bald. In that day, the Lord will snatch away their finery, the bangles and headbands and crescent necklaces. Seems like I had something on like that a couple nights ago. The earrings and bracelets and veils, the headdresses and anklets and sashes, the perfume bottles and charms, the signet rings and nose rings, the fine robes and the capes and cloaks, the purses and mirrors and the linen garments and tiaras and shawls. Well, that pretty much covers it for women, doesn't it? Instead of fragrance, there will be a stench. Instead of a sash, a rope. Sounds like captivity. Instead of well-dressed hair, baldness. Instead of fine clothing, sackcloth. Instead of beauty, branding. Your men will fall by the sword, your warriors in battle. The gates of Zion will lament and mourn. Destitute, she will sit on the ground. So this is, sounds like end-time prophecy for Jerusalem, because they're going to go through it just as well as the rest of the world's going to go through it. Okay. Chapter 4. In that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and say, we'll eat our own food and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our disgrace. So these are going to be unmarried women begging for a man to give them his name. 7 women to one man. In that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the land will be the pride and glory of the survivors in Israel. Those who are left in Zion, who remain in Jerusalem, will be called holy, all who are recorded among the living in Jerusalem. The Lord will wash away. Now remember, this is before the captivity. This is during the reigns of the kings, okay? So this is before everything was destroyed. The temple, the palace of the forest, I believe, the forest of Lebanon or whatever. I can't remember exactly what the name was, but this is before the captivity. So while this is speaking to what's going to happen, it's also speaking most likely to what's going to happen in our future. The Lord will wash away the filth of the women of Zion. He'll cleanse the bloodstains from Jerusalem by a spirit of judgment and a spirit of fire. Don't ever think the Lord is fooling around. He's not. Then the Lord will create over all of Mount Zion and over those who assemble there a cloud of smoke by day and a glow of flaming fire by night. Over everything, the glory will be a canopy. It will be a shelter and a shade from the heat of the day and a refuge and hiding place from the storm and rain. Now, have we seen that yet? Did we read about it in Zion? No. So that makes me think it might be forthcoming. All right. And I don't know. I'm not a scholar or a theologian. I'm just kind of going on what I'm hearing and what I feel. Okay. I mean, I can look into it and get a little more perspective, but remember, the words are eternal, they're living, they're never going to lose their base meaning, but they can apply to many different situations. So I think that we can pretty much understand that this is who the Lord is, and this is what he does in the face of gross disobedience. But he also promises healing, and especially to the righteous. He's going to take care of his own, so make sure you're getting under his wings now before the poop hits the fan, because I'm going to dare say that I think the first harbinger of the end is riding now, which is the first horse of the 4 horsemen. He's the white horse, and the man on him, John, in his revelation, saw that he was given a crown and a bow, and crown is corona, and a bow, deduced from Greek, toxon, T-O-C-S-O-N, to toxin. This is where we get this word. So he had a crown, corona, he had a bow, which is toxin, and he was given the power to conquer the whole world. And that's what we're seeing. The entire world, it's not just America, the entire world is on its knees to all this COVID confusion, and our leaders keep changing up everything. So nobody knows what's going on anymore. I'm thinking about just keeping a journal, and every time I hear a new thing, I'm going to write down the time, the date, the place, where I heard it, so that I can get an overall picture of what's happening. And I think that'll be very stunning once I actually look at it, step back and look at it. But I believe very firmly that the white horse is out here, and it's a harbinger, and it's out there, and people are supposed to be getting driven to the Lord by what's happening. And, unfortunately, we've got people killing themselves because of what's happening, okay? And the Lord is very patient. If you remember in Revelation, he put a lot of time in between the harbingers, the four horsemen. He gave a space and time. I don't know how much time, but he did give a relatively good chunk of time in between the horsemen for people to come to him. So it would be wise to come to him now, because I firmly believe, I think I would probably stake my life on it, that the white horse is out here right now. Because in Revelation, it says, in 18, it says the whole world, matter of fact, I'm going to look it up really quick here, okay? Because I want to read you what it says. So we're going to digress here. And what is Revelation 18 about? Lament over fallen Babylon, which is exactly what Isaiah is prophesying that we're reading right now, okay? So this isn't a coincidence. So it says here, I'm going to go down to verse 4. No, I'm not going to go down to verse 4. I am going to go all the way down where it talks about her sorceries. With such violence, never be heard. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read 23. Actually, I'm going to start it at 21. The finality of Babylon's doom, that's what it's called. Then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a large millstone and threw it into the sea and said, with such violence, the great city of Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again. The music of harpists and musicians, pipers and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. No worker of any trade will ever be found in you again. The sound of a millstone will never be heard in you again. The light of a lamp will never shine in you again. The voice of bridegroom and bride will never be heard in you again. Your merchants were the world's important people. By your magic spell, now in other versions it says sorceries, which is the exact same thing, all the nations were led astray. In her was found the blah, 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 okay, was found the blood of the prophets and of God's holy people, all who've been slaughtered on the earth. Okay, I want to make a note of the magic spell, the sorceries. The word sorcery has to do with pharmakia. Pharmakia has to do with drugs. So the four horsemen out of the four horsemen, the first one released is the one on the white horse. Now, Jesus is going to come on a white horse, but this is not Jesus. This is the first horseman. Okay, he's got a crown, which the root word there is corona. I don't know how much more plain the Lord could make it, if I'm correct. And then he's got a bow, which is where we get our word toxin, which goes directly into pharmakia, sorceries. We can deduce it all the way down, okay? So I don't know, folks, but I have a strong feeling, and like I say, I would almost stake my life on it, or I said I would stake my life on it. Let's say I will almost stake my life on it that I think the white horse is out here, because this is going to get much worse. Eventually, it's going to be us and them. And this is what's coming down. Anyone with any wisdom at all can see that eventually there's going to be segregation, And eventually the people who will not take the vaccine are going to be looked at as the problem. I mean, we knew this 6 months ago, and here we are at the brink of it with what Biden is now proposing. Because what he's proposing for the federal workers eventually will trickle down to everybody else. All right, Isaiah 5, and this is our last one for the night. I will sing for the one I love, a song about his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. Well, this is different after all the doom. He dug it up and cleared it of stones and planted it with the choicest vines. He built a watchtower in it and cut out a wine press as a well. Now imagine Isaiah standing there speaking this. Then he looked for a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. Now you dwellers in Jerusalem and people of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done for my vineyard than I have done for it? When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad? You know, I feel this way about my children. You know, a couple chapters back in the first 2 chapters of Isaiah, I had the strong realization, if I hadn't had it before, I realized it, that the Lord knows what it is to labor, to give everything you have, to be the only one in the corner of your children, and then to have them hate you and turn against you. Knowing that the Lord knows the pain that I feel is very comforting. All right. When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad? I'm asking the same thing. I did all these beautiful things for the vineyard, and then this happened. Now, I will tell you what I'm going to do to my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and it will be destroyed. Won't be protected anymore. And I will break down its wall, and it'll be trampled. You know, my own daughter told me once, she said, when the Lord removes his protection from you, you better watch out. And she said this based on her own experiences when she was a little closer to the Lord than she is now. I have faith that even if I'm not here, if we're all removed and the tribulation happens and Gabby is here for the tribulation, I have the utmost faith that she will be a hero. Man, you talk about hitting the bottom and waking up. That girl's going to wake up. She has so many wonderful characteristics about her. But she's very lost. She's what we call beyond human aid in the 12-step program. That's what we call people like Gabby that just can never stop doing alcohol and drugs. But I have hope because my God is a miracle worker. I will make it a wasteland, neither pruned nor cultivated, and briars and thorns will grow there. I will command the clouds not to rain on it. The vineyard of the Lord Almighty is the nation of Israel and the people of Judah, and the vines he delighted in. That's how I felt about my kids. And anyone who ever saw me with my kids knew how much I adored them. And he looked for justice, but he saw bloodshed, for righteousness, but heard cries of distress. Woe to you who add house to house and join field to field till no space is left and you live alone in the land. The Lord Almighty has declared in my hearing, this is Isaiah, in my hearing, surely the great houses will become desolate, the fine mansions left without occupants. A 10-acre vineyard will produce only a bath of wine. Remember, a bath was a measurement. A homer of seed will yield only an ephah of grain. And we remember an ephah, I believe, was 9.5 gallons. Woe to those who rise early in the morning to run after their drinks, who stay up late at night till they're inflamed with wine. This is a word to partiers. Knock it off. Not the time. I've told you in the last 2 years, I've told you this is not the time to be picking up new addictions or falling away from the Lord. I can't think of a worse time for my granddaughter to walk away from the Lord. And I might not be here to help her. You know, I can't even call her and tell her anything because I know it will be pearls before swine. It will be wasted words. Very frustrating. So I'm going to read it again. Woe to those who rise early in the morning to run after their drinks, who stay up late at night till they're inflamed with wine. They have harps and lyres at their banquets, pipes and timbrels and wine. So think of the bar with the rock bands. But they have no regard for the deeds of the Lord, no respect for the work of his hands. Therefore, my people will go into exile for lack of understanding. Those of high rank will die of hunger, and the common people will be parched with thirst. Therefore, death expands its jaws, opening wide its mouth. Into it will descend their nobles and masses with all their brawlers and revelers. That means partiers. That's what that means. Now, imagine that picture. Death's going to open its mouth, and into it are going to fall the brawlers, the partiers, all of them. They're going to be gone. And I had a dream like that once. And I'm remembering it right now. And it was exactly like that. I dreamt I was in a bar called Mecca, which was interesting because this was before all of the Islamic terrorist attacks on our soil. Not 9/11, although it was before 9/11. But I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I saw blind partiers. Terrifying. And I saw the Lord there with white woolly hair, and I saw him punching people off of bar stools. It was like judgment. And I was hiding and running and ducking to get out the door and get out of the way. I didn't want to be caught with these people at the last minute because I wasn't one of them. Not saying I'm better. I used to be one of them. Saying that I'm wise. I'm getting out of there, okay? Because I knew when I woke up that judgment was coming. And when I woke up, my teeth were chattering and I was saying, the scripture, the word of the Lord is sharper than any two-edged sword, is cleaving marrow from bone. That's what was spilling out of my mouth with chattering teeth. So that dream meant something. And it's coming, folks. So put down the beer, put down the mixed drink. Just get that stuff away from you. It's called fire water for a reason. It's poison. Get it away from you. Be clean. Just be clean now. Now's the time. So people will be brought low and everyone humbled, the eyes of the arrogant humbled, but the Lord Almighty will be exalted by his justice, and the holy God will be proved holy by his righteous acts. Then sheep will graze as in their own pasture. Lambs will feed among the ruins of the rich. Woe to those who draw sin along with cords of deceit, and wickedness as with cart ropes, to those who say, let God hurry, let him hasten his work so we may see it. In other words, if he's coming, let him hurry up. We want to see. Unbelief, okay? The plan of the Holy One of Israel, let it approach, let it come into view so we may know it. So they're mocking. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. We've been preaching this for a while now on Facebook. Every other Christian person is putting this up to mark the times we're in. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks. Man, this doesn't get any clearer, folks. Who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice to the innocent. I feel like that's what my granddaughter did to me. Therefore, as tongues of fire lick up straw, and as dry grass sinks down in the flames, so their roots will decay and their flowers blow away like dust. Boy, the Lord is nothing if not a poet and an artist and a wonderful picture painter. But this is no idle poetry. For they have rejected the law of the Lord Almighty and spurned the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore, the Lord's anger burns against his people. His hand is raised and he strikes them down. That's all of us. His people are all of us, okay? The mountains shake and the dead bodies are like refuse in the street. And this is exactly what's going to happen in the end. John told us in Revelation, they're going to lie around like dung. So they're like refuse in the streets, meaning garbage. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised. He lifts up a banner for the distant nations. He whistles for those at the end of the earth. Here they come, swiftly and speedily. Not one of them grows tired or stumbles. Not one slumbers or sleeps. Not a belt is loosened at the waist. Not a sandal strap is broken. Their arrows are sharp. All their bows are strung. Their horses' hooves seem like flint. Their chariot wheels like a whirlwind. Their roar is like that of the lion. They roar like young lions. They growl as they seize their prey and carry it off with no one to rescue. In that day, they will roar over it like the roaring of the sea. And if one looks at the land, there's only darkness and distress. Even the sun will be darkened by clouds. I'm telling you, folks, let's not play with the Lord, okay? Because no matter what you think, no matter what you think now, the Lord is going to have his way, and there's going to be a comeuppance for everything. So let's make sure that we get right with the Lord now. I love you very much. Please listen to the Lord. Please open your eyes and see the times that we are in. They are dangerous. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.